Welcome back to another Dream Small Business Framework. Today, we're having a conversation for a major question that everyone has been asking me. Do you need to create and post content every single day? And so, a lot of the successful content creators that I watch say that we should create and post content daily. So, I put this to the test because if you are a solo entrepreneur like myself, we know how challenging it can be to create, edit, and publish content on our social media platforms every single day. Now, for some, this might be a simpler task, but for the majority content creator, and especially for a solopreneur in the early growth stages of their business who's creating content, it feels impossible to create content every single day. And so I put this narrative to the test for myself because if I'm going to tell you the same thing from the successful content creators that I listen to and that I'm following, number one, I want to ensure that I'm being integral, that I am following the same advice that I am giving. Now, I'm a coaching consultant and I wear many hats in different fields, but in regards to business and in regards to posting your content, I'm going to share with you the tips and tricks that successful entrepreneurs who create content for their business and for their brand what they're doing because let's be honest, even though we may use the same ingredients to cook the same meal, we all get to put our own spin on those ingredients, right? Sometimes one person's mac and cheese doesn't even touch another person's mac and cheese, right? And essentially, the ingredients for mac and cheese, you can look it up, and more than likely uh, it's around the same. But then you'll see that some others are embellished. We get to embellish our own content. We get to embellish our process and our strategy. But my goal for all of my solopreneurs is to make it as simple as possible for you to create effective content that generates you leads and sales. And so today, what I have for us to talk about is the challenge recap. I created a 7-day mini content challenge, which started last Sunday. Today is the last day of the content challenge, and I can't wait to give you the results from my 7-day challenge because I entered the challenge and then I invited you all to participate. Whether you did or didn't, this is advice that I want to give you from my own testimony. And hopefully, you could take something away from today's conversation that you can implement right away. So, by the end of this conversation, you will have 3 focus areas going forward to repurpose, improve, and to utilize the information from the content that you already have, especially if it's published. Okay, especially if it's published. So let's talk about last week. I want to give you my experience. So, creating this challenge was interesting because I was going to do it completely on my own first and then share it with the rest of you. But I invited you all to participate in the challenge as well because we go further and faster together. And again, not everyone's recipe is the same. And so while I may have tried a few things, you can try some things and maybe they work for you. And this is a community where we talk a lot about sharing, right? We want to share our process, we want to share strategies that work. We don't want to reinvent or rewrite the wheel. We want to continue to utilize what's already working for others because it's similarly the same except for when we get to embellish, right? What we make unique to ourselves and our niche is what makes people join our community. And so, y'all, I want to say for majority of the challenge, it was a breeze. And it was mostly a breeze because I realized something very early on in the week. Sunday, I posted, it was perfectly fine. By the way, these posts took place on my fitness channel because that is a channel that I want to revive. Fitness is a priority for me. And so I need to get that channel back up and running with some authentic and valuable content. So I spent the last 7 days posting content directly onto that challenge. And I got to say, I was quite surprised by what was resonating and also what was challenging for me during this 7 day process because I thought I had it all planned out. Now, I already have content on this channel, and I also have content that I can use for this channel. But there is one thing that we actually need to focus on when it comes to content. I'm going to reveal that in a second. But as I was saying before, Sunday was a breeze in posting. So was Monday. Tuesday, the third day, which is this typically happens for everyone. It's like day 3 is when things kind of kick in and you're like, wait a minute, right? I'm not in the habit of posting every single day, 7 days a week. So it would make sense that what actually slipped through the cracks was me not being able to create content at the time that I scheduled myself to create content for because something else took place during the morning that I wanted to create this content. And then I had moved the time and said, okay, I'll push it back and I'll create content at a different time. And then I got scheduled to work. Well, I was asked to work and I accepted. Okay. So this turned into being a very long day that I did not anticipate missing my content day. And I had planned to create fresh content. So what I did was, even though I missed Tuesday, I doubled up on content on Wednesday. Why? Because I'm very committed to living up to the expectation that I set for myself. Okay, Virgo rising, what's up? So let's say out of the 7 days, 2 days I missed actually posting content. Okay, but I doubled up on the days that I missed. And here's what I learned from that is that I actually had the opportunity to schedule content already for the 7 days in advance. So on Sunday, what I had the opportunity to actually do was to create and post content, or sorry, to create and schedule the content out to go out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, where to be honest, I wouldn't have had to do any work because I already have enough content to post. And what I decided on doing was mostly shorts. Why? Because quite frankly, in my opinion, shorts are easier to do when you have a large workload. Being a solopreneur typically means that you're wearing all hats in your business. And to be quite honest, there isn't a department that you really can't not participate in. Like the only way a business stays alive is if you generate sales. So that means that you constantly have to create offers. You constantly need to be meeting and reaching out to new people to gain some leads that turns into prospects, that turns into retained clientele and customers. Okay. So this is very important to continue to operate a business and to make it truly successful. However, we can't deny the fact that we actually need to wear the marketing and advertising hat as well, that we need to wear the operations hat as well, and that we constantly have to lead in the front of all of these departments because we do not have employees yet, right? Or even if you have employees, maybe you have a minimal amount of employees. And so there's still a lot of front load work to be done. And so in this case, what I find to be most feasible at this point in time is to majorly create shorts. Now, I still believe in creating short form content and long form content, but I wanted to be realistic with my capacity for this week because it shifted a lot. I was very busy. I was busier than I anticipated, especially helping out the gym and picking up more shifts. And so, what I should have done, okay, so fast forward, is to already schedule content that you have. Now, if we already schedule the content that we have, is like, well, how is it actually a challenge then? What am I actually doing? Well, what I find that is scheduling the content in advance ensures that content is posted if we are moving forward with the strategy of posting every single day. You have content to post. It can either be long form, you could turn it into short form, you could turn it into long form, and you can definitely manipulate any type of short form or long form content into shorts, right? Shorts of 60 seconds or less. You could snip a valuable, important piece that solves someone's problem or educates someone out of your long form content and turn it into a short instead. And there's uh the least amount, this has the least amount of editing. Okay, it doesn't require as much effort as long form content does. Okay, in comparison, by far, shorts are easier. And what I found is that if I already go ahead and publish or schedule content to be published in advance, that will ensure that content goes up while I work on the fresh pieces of content that I believe would provide value as well. And so this was really important because I ended up creating a long form piece of content and I was super excited to post it. And this led to my second fall through of not being able to get content up that I just created that was really valuable, that I began to edit, but I did not get to finish editing because I got called into work. Okay. And this is just as important as going to teach a class. However, I was unable to publish this long form piece of content. So, in retrospect, had I had the short already scheduled and published, even if I didn't get to publish the piece of content that I intended, content still would have gone up, which would have fulfilled the 7-day mini challenge. So I just wanted to put that out there, is that I found that that could be a really nifty trick, is to just go ahead and repurpose content that you already have. By the way, y'all, it don't matter if you already posted this thing. Okay. If you already posted it, don't assume that, especially in this stage, if you are under 1,000 subscribers or heck under 500 subscribers and have less than 100 videos, that your audience has seen every single piece of content that you have already produced, or that they won't find more value in it again if they see a similar piece of content. All right, so that is one tip and one piece of advice that I would give to you, is that go ahead and schedule your shorts in advance. Or if you have short form that's ready to go, if you have long form that's ready to go, schedule it to be published while you work on new pieces of content. Okay. So that was one of the major challenges for me in getting content up in time, or yeah, in time, right? The day of, and not missing a day. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty of this conversation, which is, do you need to post 7 days a week in order to have effective, valuable content that leads to sales in your business? Okay. And so I'm going to flat out just let you know right now that the answer is no. You do not need to post content every single day in order to have effective, valuable content for your audience to watch, nor to generate sales. Now, let's break down and talk about why. So, the reason being is, and what I've discovered, not only through my own experience of publishing content over the last 7 days, but additionally, too, when I watch other successful content creators, and mind you, success is subjective. Okay, every one of you as a solopreneur or a content creator, or even an aspiring one of either of those, has your own goal for your brand, your business, or your endeavor. Okay. Some people are only, some entrepreneurs or content creators are simply posting to grow their audience, right? The organic community growth through their audience. Some, like myself, are publishing content in order to work with others, either one on one or in group settings, right? And then there's other organizations or entrepreneurs who simply want to collect data and info, right? So that's the content that they post, and they're looking for feedback in their comments. They're looking for you to click on a link and to either submit some information about yourself and then the content that you're watching. And there's tons of other reasons of why people post content. Shoot, some people don't even have a purpose, okay? But we got a purpose for our content, and I need you to be very clear on your purpose for your channel. What's the purpose for your content? What's the purpose for your channel? What's the purpose for your content? If you're educating people, awesome. Now make sure your content is reflective of what you say your channel is about. So if it's about education, you should have educational content pieces that directly speaks to the audience that you're serving. Okay? So, the most important thing for a successful content creator or entrepreneur when it comes to publishing content is ensuring that we are producing quality over quantity. That is what makes content successful. You could post 7 pieces of content each week, and they could all provide little to no value to your audience. Okay? Or you could post 1 piece of content per week, and it provide a wide array of value to your audience and to your business. Quality over quantity is what it comes down to. And that is the reason that I extended this conversation today to also talk about how to improve the content that you already created so that it is effective and valuable, high quality for your audience. How to use key analytics as real feedback so that you know what to do going forward, and how to keep your content flowing without the burnout, right? Because that's important. We got to wear all the hats in a business. How do we create efficiency for ourselves, especially in terms of content, which can be a very arduous, meticulous, and tedious task? All right, so let's start with the first step, how to improve content that you already have. So what I discovered is, y'all, is that we already have so much content inside of our devices, particularly our phone. Think about how often you are actually using your phone. Okay. Now, I'm sure that we all use our phone for different purposes, but I'm also sure that you could go into your phone and find some valuable pieces of content that you can add to your channel. If not, don't fret. You can obviously do that. Start fresh from a blank canvas. But for those of you who already have content that lives somewhere on your devices, your phone, your tablet, or on your laptop, I want to talk about how you can go back and improve the content that you already created. So first and foremost, you want to ensure that there is good sound and good visual. And to be quite frank, most of the time people will take great audio over great visual. Why? Because especially when you're delivering like podcast style or fireside chat style or educational content, something where you're not showing and demonstrating a thing, you actually don't need to watch it. You get to just listen to your content creators speak to you. You don't have to watch them speak to you. You can just listen to it, right? But of course, on the contrary, if you're showing and demonstrating something, right? Like a do-it-yourself, how do you create pot holders? Your audience is going to need to look at the screen to actually see how you're doing the thing so that they can do it and follow along. For the most part, and on average, our viewers are listening to us. So audio is important, not just making sure that we're able to cancel out the noise in the background, but also that our words are clear, legible, close, and not super far away, right? We want to make sure that we have quality audio and sound for our content. So once you have that, y'all, I want you to go ahead and find a simple thumbnail for yourselves. You're going to use a title for your content that has already been used. vidIQ is one of my favorite AI tools to use to help me create titles for my videos. If not vidIQ, I also use TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is an extension that's actually built into my YouTube channel platform, so it actually can help me in the midst of preparing to publish my content. So a lot of times I'll use TubeBuddy over vidIQ. That's VIDIQ, not sponsored by them, by the way. Just sharing tools that I use on my own. And TubeBuddy, Tube, Tube, Buddy, Buddy, is an extension that I have already attached to my YouTube platform. And these help me to utilize titles that are already successful to content that's similar to mine. I encourage you to do the same thing. Okay, so you got a simple thumbnail. You have a great title that many people want to click on. Okay, now we want to, now that we have our videos posted, what's really important, y'all, is to go back and not only rewatch your videos, but to go back and review all of the content that you've published. So this is inside of your YouTube studio for those of us who are listening in and really focused and honed in on YouTube. That is the niche of the content creation that I focus on and I talk about. But you want to go into your studio and actually now move to the second step. You want to analyze the content that you already have there. So before we jump further into details around that, I also want to note and say that you want to have at least two handfuls worth of content to analyze, right? Because you can't post one video and then get a ton of feedback about your general population of your viewers, right? You want to post multiple pieces of content that fits the narrative for your channel, what you said that you were going to deliver on this channel. You want to publish all of those pieces of content. Okay, so two handfuls worth is a really great space to be in, but it's okay if you don't even have 10 videos yet. If you at least have 4 videos, right? Let's say you made a video once a week, or you published a video once a week over the course of the month. That's 4 videos. A month is a great time to go into your YouTube studio and to review your analytics. So I talked a lot to my clients and to you all about reviewing your analytics on a weekly basis. If it's not possible to do it weekly, bi-weekly. If it's not possible to do it bi-weekly, do it monthly. Why? Because what we don't want to continue to do is to produce content, especially new pieces of content that will not resonate with our audience. And we could have found that out beforehand had we just reviewed the content that we already have. So how is your content that you already have posted? How is that hitting? The only way that you're going to know is by going into your YouTube studio and revising the analytics. So that's step 2, how to use key analytics as real feedback. And so there's a ton of things to go over inside of your YouTube studio, but we're actually just going to focus on one thing today because this has been a trending topic across YouTube for content creators. And I want to make sure that I'm getting it to my entrepreneurs, my solopreneurs. This is something that you absolutely need to know, okay? So that you are prepared as you're creating content going forward. Like I'm being very particular in the way that I'm saying content creators and entrepreneurs because you can be both, right? And you might look at it as one as the same because it's like, well, I need to create content for my brand and for my business. So it's like, I'm a content creator as well. However, there are some people, many individuals, and you might be one of them, that do not consider yourselves content creators. You're creating content as your marketing and advertising plan, and that's it. You're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur. That's how you see yourself. You don't see yourself as a content creator. You're literally just doing this because you need commercials about your products and your services, right? You need to get the information out about how you can provide value, how you can provide solutions to people's problems. Understood. Either way, however you identify, the rules still apply. And there is one thing that is trending that many content creators are focused on right now, and that is how long someone stays to watch your video. That is called your watch time. So when you go into your YouTube studio, aside from looking at the amount of subscribers that you have, because I'm pretty sure that's a part of your goal is to grow your audience, right? Maybe you have an actual numbered goal for yourself, like I want 2-3 new subscribers for this week. So that's something that you might check in. You might check to see how many views that you had on the pieces of content that you just produced. And you might check to see if you have any likes and comments. These things are all important to go over in your studio. What's great about the studio is that it'll give you updates about those things. So you don't have to travel far back into your archives and into the past of your studio to try to figure out where's your comments and where's your likes and where's your this and where's your that. It's pretty simple and straightforward on your dashboard. You get all of your major information right on that landing page of your dashboard when you enter your YouTube studio. Now, after looking at all of those wonderful numbers, what you really want to get into is to go into your content tab and to do a comparison of your content and look at your views by content. Now, there's several ways to do this. You can filter it and look through the last 7 days, 28 days, 90 days, or even the last year and get some really valuable information about your content. And of course, you would need to have content a year's worth in order to even look over a year. In this case, we're talking about 2 handfuls worth, or at least the last week, right? Let's say that from the challenge. Okay. And then we want to check out the views because we want to know, we want to check out not just the views, but how many people stayed to watch. So before, right? I've been having conversations with you all about content creation for quite some time now. Um, I've committed myself for at least 1 year to really hone in on content creation because it's it's very important. I'm not gonna even say it seems very important. I know that it's very important. So aside from just making myself good at it, I want to bring my community along, right? That's why you're here with me today. And so one thing or some things that has shifted that I've noticed even within the last 6 months is really having this conversation about building subscribers, right? Building your audience, getting people to subscribe, which changed as well as what has changed as well is getting people to like your content, getting people to comment on your content, getting people to share your content. This is not the trending topic of conversation when it comes to content right now. Sure, those things are still important, but important why? Everything that you do in your business needs to have a purpose because it is utilizing a resource, at minimum is utilizing energy. Even for you to check in to see how much someone has liked a piece of content, I mean, that might feel really good for you, but again, remember, a lot of my favorite content creators, I'm not watching their videos. I listen to them because much of it is podcast style. And since it's podcast style, I'm listening. A lot of times I'm not even near my phone. I have my headphones in. And many content creators now, if you listen closely, they're not intentionally asking you to like their content. Okay. You might still hear a few, but I want you to take the average. On average, how many times you hear your content creators asking you for the call to action to like their piece of content? Like that is the purpose of what they're delivering, right? So it's not the like, comment, share, subscribe, right, phrase that we put inside of our intro at the end of the video, but it's like, hey, do me a favor. If you're really enjoying this content, please like it. I want you to smash that like button. Yes, we do want you to do that. But what is the purpose? Because we don't want to just say that, right? We talk a lot about copying each other, which is still great to do from your successful content creators. Like any content creator you consider successful, anyone that you're looking at as a role model, you want to be like, by all means, if it resonates for you and if it fits a purpose, execute, do it, take action. But if it does not, it's not important. I believe that if someone likes my content and that if they're near their phone and that they're near their device, that they will hit the like button, because YouTube and content creators has pretty much gotten us into a rhythm of doing that anyway. You like content, you want to see more of it in your algorithm, like it. You like it so much that you actually want to leave a comment, and maybe they asked you to leave a comment, so you leave a comment, and that's great. Maybe you have a question, maybe you want to find out how to connect with them. The comment space is like how you engage and how you interact with the content creator themselves, or at least that audience. So naturally, you're going to find that over time, your audience is going to do these things anyway, unless you have a particular call to action to which they need to jump into the comment box. Nonetheless, I gave all of those examples to say that there has been a massive shift from focusing on the like, comment, share, subscribe phrase and call to action for the audience to now ensuring that you have a solid title and hook. Let me explain. So the thumbnail is the first picture that you see after you type in whatever you type in when you go to YouTube. You go to YouTube, you want to learn how to make mac and cheese. You put in how to make mac and cheese in the search engine. You get at least a dozen videos on the first landing page. Now, out of those dozen videos, which one do you choose to watch first, if any? How do you know, right? You're going to choose by the thumbnail, the way that the content looks. And then you're going to look at the title, right? Because you might click on one that says exactly what you typed in, like how to make mac and cheese. Or you might decide to click on the next video underneath it that says 4 simple steps to making the most delicious mac and cheese you've ever tasted. That I'll probably watch, because now I imagined a whole bunch of steps to making mac and cheese first, or I didn't know what to expect. But then the other video just told me it's only 4 steps and it's really that simple. If it's really that simple, I want to know about it. Okay. So I don't want to stay in the kitchen the whole time making this mac and cheese if I don't have to. I want to save time. Right. So we already are ensuring the audience from the title that if we watch this video, there is a potential that I will save time in the kitchen and have the most delicious dish that I've ever tasted before. So I'm going to click on that video, right? Now, here's the kicker, y'all. Once our audience clicks on the video, what do you think the next important thing is for us that happens with our audience? That they stay to watch it, right? That they stay and watch the rest of the video. If not all of it, a majority of it, right? So, how do we get our audience to stay with us and watch a majority, if not all of the video? All is great, specifically if you have your automations on and it'll roll right into another one of your videos for your audience to watch. But for the most part, people will stay on average, right? Like if I'm looking up a recipe for mac and cheese, I'm going to watch one video and I'm probably going to go and make the mac and cheese, or I'm probably already in the kitchen doing that, right? So, how do we get our audience to stay? Plain and simple, what you're going to see a lot of conversation around, if you haven't already, and you can look this up for yourself. Please do your own research, right? And please share what you learned as well. Your hook. Your hook is important, y'all. The hook, the hook, the hook, the hook. So what is the hook? Your hook is your introduction. So that's the way that you start the video. So very similarly to the way that I started this one, one of my hook phrases is, especially if I have a content creator tapping in or entrepreneur tapping in because they read the title, they saw the thumbnail, they found resonance with that enough to click on my video. The way I started this video is, do you actually need to create and publish 7 pieces of content each week, right? Do you need to post and publish content every single day? So for a person, an individual who considers themselves an entrepreneur or a content creator, and they're specifically on YouTube looking to find out more about creating content, how to make it easier, if they need to post content every single day. If I show up on their algorithm and I start off my video with that, it's like, yeah, do I? Because I've been hearing that I need to post daily, that I need to post consistently. And more importantly, I know I'm not doing either of those things. So do I even need to do it? Right? Do I need to put all of this energy and resource into and commitment into doing this thing that possibly I don't even need to do? Someone's talking about it. Let me stay and find out what the answer is. So a hook is asking a question, a large question in the beginning of your video, or making a bold statement at the beginning of your video, letting your audience know what you are going to uncover in your piece of content today through that bold statement or through that question. Okay. So the hook is important. Sometimes we'll come into the introduction and then we're fiddling around trying to get into our groove and our rhythm, which is perfectly fine. But at the same time, that might provide our audience the opportunity to click off. Like we got to at least know what we're going to talk about and 3 bullet points of what we're going to go over. What is the expectation that you have your audience to walk away with after that piece of content? Okay, so just like I said, I hope that from this, you can find out whether it's fitting for you to produce a valuable content every single day or not. Because you already know, like I told you, you don't have to. But you didn't know that in the beginning of the video. Now you know that, right? Because you've stayed with me for some time. So it's important that you're doing the same thing. You want to give your audience a little bit of what you're going to talk about today, how it's going to solve a problem for them, or what you're going to educate them on about so that they can take away those things and go and do it themselves after, or they could connect with you depending on what your call to action is so that they can receive further assistance. And then you want to give them a little cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is what stops people from leaving your video because they want to find out the answer to the question or to the statement that you made so boldly in the beginning of the video. This works very effectively. It always has, and it still does for many content creators and entrepreneurs that produce content. So I want you to think of your favorite content creators, and I want you to take some time to go over their channel and see how they introduce their content. Keep in mind that when you're new to content creation, or if your brand or your business is new, that you do want to introduce those things to your audience. Like you want to introduce your brand and your name, so yourself, along with what you're going to be talking about today, right? However, you also want to get straight to the point because straight up, y'all, people don't care. People care, but they don't care, right? So we can go to Whole Foods and shop for our groceries without knowing who started Whole Foods, like what their mission is and what their purpose for Whole Foods is, who built the first building and where. Like we don't need to know any of that information, right? We just know that we need the groceries and that we need this, we need the resources in order to be able to obtain it, right? And all those things happen on site at the grocery store or through your order, right? So we don't need to know all of the backstory all the time. When we are very connected to a brand and when we're very connected to a mission, especially of a brand or a business, we want to know more, right? So we can never not know Kobe Bryant's name or Michael Jordan's name and their connections, right? Their connections to basketball. Even if you don't watch basketball, you at least know these figures, right? And it's really important, again, that we are branding ourselves. We are branding our business in the very beginning because it takes time for people to get to really fully know us, right? Like they may not remember our names. They may not even remember what we said in the piece of content, but we know that they're going to remember how we made them feel or what resonated and what moved inside of them. This causes them to pay more attention, particularly more attention to our other pieces of content that we end up posting and publishing as well, as long as it's aligned with what value they're looking for. All right, that was a mouthful. Okay. But I just wanted to really hopefully demonstrate for you how important the introduction to each video is. So if you're introducing yourself and your business name, that's great. Continue to do that. And then you want to get right into what you're talking about today and why it's so important for your viewer to stay to the end to find out what, in order to take away what, so that they can do what and make their lives better. What's the payoff for the transformation that they're going to receive from watching this piece of content? And so there you have it. Okay. It is not just the amount of subscribers that you have. We talked about that last week, right? You can have 1 million subscribers and have 0 sales in your business. So then at that point, what is your content's purpose? What is it for? What is it doing? Right? So if the intention wasn't to generate sales, that's one thing. But if it is, we want to make sure that we're not just producing a bunch of content just for people to subscribe and maybe watch, right? How many channels do you subscribe to and then they fall by the wayside by the new channels that you subscribe to? People continue to follow us and watch our content based off of the value that we provide. And so, once again, just reiterating that valuable content, quality content is what's important. And then going into your YouTube studio to utilize specific metrics to make good decisions for the content going forward. So you want to know about the people that's staying to watch your content. What I found was through the last 7 days in which I posted content, which you can do this in your advanced mode of and under your content tab, where you're trying to figure out what are the amount of views versus the people that stayed to watch. So people clicked, but who stayed to watch, right? And what I found was so interesting. The videos that I've gotten the most views on had the least amount of individuals who stayed and actually watched it all the way through. Mind you, I did shorts last week, y'all. And shorts in particular were anywhere in between 15 to 60 seconds. Okay, so not all of them were even 60 seconds. Some were 15 to 60. And then what I found was that on the flip side, those who stayed longer to watch my content had a smaller amount of people to click on it. So if 4 people clicked on one piece of my 60-second content, I have here that 70% stayed to watch all 15 seconds of it. So some people probably clicked off at 10. Some people could have even clicked off at 4 or 5, maybe clicked on it by accident. Who knows? Right? But it's really great information to have to see who stayed to watch versus who just clicked on the video and then bounced. So the ones that stayed to watch lets me know, maybe they found some particular value in this video. And I say some particular because we got to keep in mind that not only does the actual content itself provide value, but then so does the title. And that came before them actually watching that piece of content, right? So one of the pieces that I have, for example, here, I did a bunch of workout tips. I have nutrition tips. I have also some ASMR, which is very old, but ASMR is on my channel as well because that's something I played around with, and which actually for shorts has produced me a lot of success. Okay. So, actually I have one here that's 100% stayed to watch with 6 views. That's amazing. Okay. So, anyways, sorry, squirrel. All right. So, the content that people appreciated the most, I want to now take a look at, well, what made that video successful aside from the content itself, especially if someone didn't stay to watch the whole entire thing. How can I get people to stay and watch the whole piece of that content? Not just the content that I'm going to produce going forward, but even that piece of content, right? Because we talked about repurposing content, improving content. So I can take the same piece of content, flip it, repurpose and publish it again, and see how the metrics shift. And this is a great time to do that with the content that I just produced over the last 7 days, because again, I already produced it. Now I get to finesse it a little bit, maybe change a little bit some of the nuances, right? Like I can go back and look at the title description, put my current title description into vidIQ, right? That AI app that I mentioned earlier, and see if it gives me more effective titles. And I could change the title to that new short. In addition to, if I feel like editing the video itself, potentially re-edit the video. Like what I would do from this point on is I would look at the comments, and see if there's any information there. And then I'll also go and research what some other content creators who are doing similar things to me are doing as well. What makes them successful? And so I might add that into my video as well. And then I want to measure those metrics in another week, but at maximum, like I told you all already, at least another, at most, another month. Forgive me, y'all. I'm super tired. I'm tripping over my words because I'm here with y'all. Okay, so I appreciate you. Yeah. So what I say this to say is that you need to go into your studio now. If you have a handful of content or two handfuls of content, you need to go into your studio. You need to revise your thumbnails, revise your titles, and look and see who stayed to watch your videos. Which videos did they stay to watch? See if you could pinpoint inside of the videos what about it that you believe your audience stayed to watch it. Is it because it's a very niche and target audience, like my ASMR group, right? The the individuals that I train with in my group classes more than likely are not going to be the audience that watches my ASMR playlist. Okay? There's a very niche group of people that watches ASMR. But I want to know what about those videos in particular that people really enjoyed. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to have a look at the video. I'm going to have a look to see if I see any comments. And I'm going to repurpose that content in either another way or that specific piece of content itself. Okay. And then I'm also going to take a look at my short form and then long form videos and do the same thing. How many people stay to watch? Which kind of video is that? And can I produce more videos like that or repurpose that piece of content over and over again, y'all? We don't have to continue to do new pieces of content every single week. Yeah, sure. Like over time, as especially as things evolve and change, right? If something changes, we absolutely need to create new content. But we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can repurpose what we have. And then finally, y'all, this is the last piece as we come down on closing time, is my third point that I want to go over. After we've discovered that we have content to improve, we've revised our analytics for those pieces of content, and we have a gist of what's working well so far versus maybe not, right? Because we have two types of videos to compare to, at least two types of videos to compare to. And then final pieces, how to keep content flowing without burnout. And I already gave you one tip earlier. Schedule the content that you already have, even if you're not totally in agreement of posting that content just yet. Why? Because we want feedback. Sometimes what we believe is gold, like the gold mine to our YouTube channel, we find out it's not. Like, I didn't think my ASMR would override my workout tips. Just saying. And it doesn't mean the workout tips wouldn't eventually be more successful over my ASMR. But based off of what I have and what I'm looking at in front of me right now, that is what the analytics are giving me. So that's all I'm going to work on for right now. Okay. So I didn't think that my ASMR playlist would have done better than my workout playlist at this point. So there's a few things for me to look at, but there's also a few things for me to consider. I haven't made an SMR, an new ASMR piece of content in a very long time. Can I repurpose some content that I already have? Absolutely. I got long form, short form, and shorts. Okay. If y'all like it, I love it. So more than likely, you're going to see some of that come back to my channel. By the way, that's built by community. I'll leave it up there somewhere and in the description box down below so that you can subscribe to my channel if you find it valuable. I'm not asking for subscribers just because I want y'all to subscribe to the channel because you're finding it valuable. Okay. So that there's some value there for you. So yes, you get to repurpose the content that you already have. Schedule it out in advance. Get some feedback and then repurpose that content again. Okay? That way you don't have to continuously create new pieces of content. You get to just improve what you already have and make that really good and effective, right? Because it's about effectivity, the value, right? The other thing is to consider which kind of content you're going to deliver. Is it short form, or long form? For some, long form might actually be simpler than shorts. That's possible. It's possible for someone to just turn on their camera and to just begin to flow and speak, just like I'm doing right here in front of you right now, right? Especially if you're hosting webinars, you're hosting workshops, and you could possibly repurpose that content as long as you have the permissions of others, if there's others included, and collaborating on that piece with you. Okay. And then finally, get creative, not just with the content, y'all. Get creative with your titles. You would be surprised that your content is really good actually, but what's messing you up is your titles. Your titles have to speak to your audience. If they don't know what you're talking about, if it don't make sense, if it's not enticing, captivating, if it doesn't already begin to answer their question, much less to pique their interest, they're not even going to click on your content. And the content could be really good, actually, right? I say a lot of times that this is the worst content that we're going to make in the early growth stages of our business or content creation, because obviously we just improve and get better, right? We're the worst at anything that we start. We're the worst in the beginning of anything that we start. But when we stick to it, we get better, right? So it's the same thing here, but that doesn't mean that you can't produce valuable content right off of the bat in the early growth stages, and that you can't continue to just improve and make that your start content. But what we got to make sure is that we get people to click on it first. That's the first thing that needs to happen before anything else. And so you need to do your research. You need to use these apps that were created and designed to take successful titles that already exist on YouTube and just tell you what it is, and you copy it. Copy it. Be a copycat. Great artists copy. We are not reinventing the wheel. And if we aren't reinventing the wheel because we're talking about creativity, I want you to think about and to utilize other AI tools such as ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, any of these writing tools. I'm pretty sure there's a specific content writing tool, AI tool out there that really hones in on what I'm trying to tell you about your thumbnail message, about your title. But just because sometimes I see thumbnails that are like, thumbnails are not as important as the title is what I'm realizing. That's what I'm saying. So even that's changed, and you'll see that in my previous content versus now. The title is what captivates your audience to click. So your thumbnail could be you just like this in the screen, like I have on some of mine. But I found that those videos I have more views on than other videos that I've actually sat and created thumbnails for. But when I look further into it, they're clicking because the title is answering a question or piquing their interest to actually click on the video and to watch any of it at all, right? So I would reveal, well, let me reveal what one of my titles will be for my next video, because I don't care. I want you to copy. It's all good. There's no secrets here. We're sharing, right? So, for example, a creative title that I'm playing around with right now, what I've figured out from, again, my fitness channel and what people do like from my fitness videos is not just the videos on like what to do, but it's specific to an area that we want to focus on, right? So, like if you want bigger calves or more muscle definition, if you want to lose belly fat or arm fat or back fat, right? Is that most people know, because you might have heard this at this point, if you've ever tried to lose weight, if you're into fitness, a fitness enthusiast or whatever, is that you cannot target weight loss in any particular area. Like you can't target back fat, you can't target belly fat, right? But guess what I'm going to use as my title for my next video? Well, maybe it's not my next video, but one of the videos that I'm working on right now to publish and post is you can target back fat. You can target belly fat. So that is creative, right? Because that goes against what most fitness coaches, most fitness enthusiasts, what have said for years, right? What most physicians, doctors, okay, licensed practitioners, what they tell their audience and their patients, their clients all the time is that you cannot target back fat. I believe that you can. It with just a change of perspective, and then I break down the perspective in the video. So tune into that if you're interested. As a busy professional, which is who I help to lose weight and to look great, so that when you enter your rooms and when you're speaking about business, that you feel just as confident as you look, and you look just as confident as you feel. Okay. I want you to check out that video and give me some feedback in the comments about what you think, right? Because it's important not to, it's not catfish. Excuse me, y'all, because I told y'all I'm tired. It's not catfish. Clickbait, excuse me. We want to be mindful about clickbait in our audience, right? We don't, I'm not trying to get my audience to tap in and then be like, gotcha. Actually, you can't target back fat or belly fat. Okay. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that thing and go against the grain of what everyone else is saying. So stay tuned for that video. Like I told you, I'll leave a link either in the description or in this video for you to watch my next channel. Specifically, the reason why I'm telling you to tune in, not just because you might have your own weight fitness goals and endeavors, right? Like if you do, great, and it makes sense for you to tap in, great. But I want you to actually use my example as your research. Look to see how over time, how this video will simply start to gather more views and interest because of the title, much less of what's actually in the content itself. Okay. So again, friends, publish the content that you already have, schedule it. Maybe you don't want to post daily, and that's okay. What do you want to do? And what's the purpose? Right? Weekly, so that we give the audience time to actually not just consume that information, but to go and implement it, right? And then when we come back next week, this is what we're going to be talking about, right? So you want to schedule and publish that information. I'm sorry, schedule and publish that content. And then you want to ensure that you are not reinventing the wheel. Repurpose the content you already have, y'all. Create some shorts, create some short form videos. If you have shorts and short form videos already, now create a long form video. If you're only focused on shorts, that's perfectly fine too. Continue to do that, right? And then get creative. Get creative specifically with your titles, not so much the videos. It's okay. Like people just want the value. Again, you could be in the bathroom doing your hair. A lot of valuable content is recorded in people's cars while they're driving, while they're parked. It don't matter, right? So that's not what's important. What's important is the value that you're delivering from your mouth, right? Or from what you're demonstrating in your video. But first, you got to get your people to click. So be creative with your title. Okay. So just to summarize this, we want to go ahead and improve the content that we already created. We want to use the analytics and feedback in real time from our YouTube studio, right, to help us to improve the content that we're going to use going forward. How to keep content flowing without the burnout? Go ahead and schedule content that you already have made for the day and the time that you want to post it. On average, content creators are not posting daily without a team to assist them or without being a full content creator. But what they are doing is they are creating content every day. Now you could do that. That's helpful to improving the quality of the content that you're creating for sure. Okay. They're creating content every day, but maybe they're not posting every day. They need time to work on it, right? So they've got at least one scheduled out so that their audience knows when to expect a video from them. So if I say at Tuesday, 12 o'clock, you're going to see a video from me. I have a dozen videos that I could post next Tuesday at 12 o'clock. I just need to choose one. And my audience knows that they could come and find content Tuesday at 12, regardless of whether they know that I just created it or didn't create it. Doesn't matter. Okay. So we want to make sure that we are scheduling our content out, that we are in our studio and being about our business, analyzing our metrics and utilizing that information to create the content going forward that's going to live on our channel. Be sure to listen to your audience. The ones that people are staying to watch, is that something that you are willing to do over and over again? Right? And then for new things that you want to do and introduce, make sure that you're asking your audience right in the video itself. Is like, hey, I got a new service, or I got a new product, or I have a new solution, or this is a topic that I've been thinking about. This is something I've been ideating on and maybe want to create, but I can't do that without knowing whether it's needed or not. So I would love your feedback and for you to let me know what you think about this particular product or service or solution or whatever the conversation is, right? Let your audience know. Remember, call to action. So organic conversation. Eventually you'll hear some responses, you receive some feedback, and so that you can have successful content going forward for your business. And with that, my friends, I hope that you walked away with some gems. I hope that you can walk away with some relief, knowing that you do not need to publish content every single day, but you do want to get content out as soon as possible. You do want to be consistent. You do want to go into your YouTube studio and revise your analytics to utilize that information for the content that you'll put out going forward. If you are interested in my upcoming workshop, the details are pending, such as the day, the time, and what is going to be included in it. However, it's going to be on content. So if you need assistance with content specifically, and you would like to do it in community so that you don't have to work on your content alone, you want to sign up for my workshop. So all I need you to do is to click the link in the description, submit a few details about yourself. Is really just your name and your email address, so I can send you the full details of the workshop when it happens next. And with that, my friends, 6 minutes over, but that's okay. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.